thing is roughly the same color with the same rug, just strewn throughout the entire building. We'll start off the operator ban phase. As you see at the top of your screen, XSET will be defending first. Villa is a map that is typically more favorable to the defenders. This has kind of changed. There's been a bit of ebb and flow here with Villa, where we've seen plenty of attacker-sided Villa matchups. It could possibly be the case, but obviously we'll wait and see. Both of these teams are extremely aggressive and play I would argue, a slightly less refined style. And heading into the matchup today, Villa is actually pretty much 50-50, but it's only been played one time this stage. And funny enough, it was Beast Coast who played it against TSM. Your operator bans are locked in. Thatcher and Ash removed. Ash being taken out by Beast Coast is an interesting one. That's obviously not just a counter from a utility perspective, but there are good Ash players on both these teams. Falcon Wamai are your two defenders removed from action.
All right, with these bans in, the most interesting one obviously is going to be the Ash, but it makes a lot of sense. You know, in the past, Ash ban, well, haha, that's very funny. Who are you countering? But in this case, honestly, getting rid of that X-Blow, even if it's not a direct ban against any particular player, getting rid of that X-Blow can be very useful. So I like the Ash ban for the use of, for example, a Goyo. We're seeing being brought out right now on XSET side. Of course, it was Beast Coast who actually did ban Ash, but you know, it's still an interesting one, and I like to see new things like that, or not new necessarily, but different things like that being brought out. I'm gonna check the stats here. I think it probably Ash is likely a operator that XSET is making good use of, because we've seen a lot of specific counter bans before, and yeah, actually, I just checked it. Yeah, it is. It's Ash as an operator for XSET is played 98% of the time when available, and she has a relatively high win percentage compared to some of the other operators, 40%. And for XSET, I know that doesn't sound good, but that's actually pretty decent.
Yeah, we exist in this weird scenario where Ash is now too valuable to be your entry, and teams are gambling operators like Sledge or like Buck or Nomad, etc. on more entry style plays here. Even though I would argue in many cases, the Nomads that are typically involved in early action are not in the right place. But Ash, yeah, she has 3 breaches and 3 breaching rounds as well, both of which can do a lot of work. And with how much we've seen Buck fall off, it's been a significant improvement for attackers now that they have access to somebody who can do all that work. Anyway, first defense is going to be upstairs. It's Aviator in games. This is the most common spot. And Creators narrowly misses out on an opportunity to tussle with Ghost. We're only 45 seconds in, and we could have seen our first skirmish here on this map.
Yeah, so that's 2 mistakes that you all just saw live. Mistake number 1 was on Ghost. He did not wait for his drone to call trophy clear. Mistake number 2 on Creators, impatiently holding that angle. He had the advantage, no information gathered on him. He could have just sat there, waited for the free kill to walk into his arms, but he panicked on the fight and fell back. At least he keeps his head and he'll be able to continue to waste time. But those kinds of mistakes are the type of mistakes that really put teams like Beast Coast and XSET where they are on the leaderboards right now.
Also, just want to say here that this was a theme yesterday. A lot of players are changing their names. Dear God, please, admins, stop them from doing that. It is so confusing for viewers, and I would appreciate it immensely as a caster. I know that a lot of people aren't going to like it and think that it's unfun. But anyway, very first kill is going to be Drip himself getting the first pick. He's playing over by Model inside of Aviator, and Beast Coast just dry peeked the door frame with limited intel. More damage, though, being done as Drip is involved in the second fracas. It's Ghost to take him down before he's removed, and Filthy trying to retreat and come through. Study gets punished by Anthony. So just like that, we have a minute to go, and there's already been so much damage done. More to come from it, though, as Sippin' on OJ peaks and Creators punishes him for that. And Beast Coast now trailing in numbers.
It's just Anthony now, and he'll have to find 3. He's got 50 seconds to do it, but that's really not going to matter when it comes to the actual fights. Nice nade. Down goes Creators. The Goyo shield plus the nade doing just enough damage. So this gets a little bit more workable for Anthony. He also seems to have information on Thomas playing by the bar. The ping's coming out. If he can win this fight, it's a 1v1. Sees the head, but can't land the shot. Butters able to finish things up, and it's a beautiful round for XSET. Off of the early pick from Drip, they carry it forward to the end.
Got a good hold here on a map that is known for being, as we said, defender friendly. And honestly, I was really surprised with how limited utility that we saw on display between these two teams. Like, there were dry peaks on door frames. There were very few drones guiding them up. There was a Yana on the board. There's 10 drones at your disposal. And yet you still seem to be having issues figuring out where XSET is playing. Yeah, I know there was a mute. I get it. That obviously stops drones. But alone, that shouldn't be impeding them. I mean, you saw Ghost upstairs with creators. As creators fell off, Ghost gets droned in more accurately, and that's a pick on creators. And he did drone him out, actually, but he was a little bit too slow, and it didn't look like it was the best coordination that we could have seen possible. Now, I also want people to temper their expectations with these two teams, because when you have a roster get elevated to this level, you're going to have some struggles with coordination. I mean, hell, we see some of the best teams in the NA League still struggle with coordination. And there are times where teams like DZ, or we see teams like TSM, they'll do something and we'll kind of scratch our heads and go, that doesn't really make any sense. Why would they do that? Sometimes things get chaotic. You can forgive the occasional issue. But in this case, it's something worth keeping an eye on, because the remainder of this matchup will likely have this intel denial being a pivotal part of the defense. We saw it yesterday. Lots of teams have defaulted to running Mute and Mozzie. When coupled with a Rooney, it can tend to be quite good for wasting time and wasting utility as well, because we're out of the utility soak meta. We're kind of back in that intel denial meta that we saw with Mute and Mozzie for so long, but there's still tons of deployable shields, Malusi, and a Rooney there to waste or soak up your utility.
Yeah, I think one thing I'm noticing with the meta as of late is that it's not so rigid. Ooh, early entry here from Beast Coast. Thomas will do a little bit of damage. Down goes Ghost from the assist, but there's Ulin on the entry into Study. Even exchange, but definitely favoring Beast Coast in terms of HP, even though the body count is the same for both teams. I'm sorry, we were talking about the meta.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun to look at how things have changed, right? We had that real heavy utility soak meta where Wamai was a menace and Jaeger was being brought all the time, and there were tons of deployable shields, and they, you know, Ubisoft came in and made some changes to that, mostly by getting rid of deployable shields on a couple of the operators, then obviously nerfing Wamai, and then they nerfed Jaeger as well. And yeah, we're still going to see Jaeger get played. He's got a great gun, and he's got a gadget that's really important. Wamai gets banned out by most teams every single time, so he's not going to be as much of a factor. But teams have now just kind of went back to a somewhat of an older style meta. Obviously, XSET is not favoring it that much because Mute is a very potent operator in almost every capacity, so expect to see him, though. I don't know why Drippin has the MP5. Drip should probably be running the shotgun, but this seems to be a conscious decision. And I mean, it works. It works for one kill. He's got two, technically, but from this spot perched up by the bomb chassis, well, he's in trophy room and he's collected 2 trophies so far.
Rudy and Ghost looking good on his wall, I'm sure. 1 minute left for this Beast Coast team to execute into the site, but all they really have is top red control. And they still have roamers as creators downstairs to deal with. So lots of problems here, especially as we see Sippin peek into Butters. Not a great decision, I guess. The 81 is going to get you there. Down goes Drip, which makes this a little bit more workable, especially with Butters, Filthy, and Creator all being on low HP. Bozo's going to take some damage, though, pushing in from Master, and down goes Anthony at top red. So no more crossfire for Beast Coast. It's all going to come down to Fozo winning 3 gunfights, and he can't even win 1. Creators will lock that up, and that's 2 in a row for XSET.
Am I missing something, or where did that hard destruction go? I'm through 2 rounds right now, Michael. I'm having such a hard time figuring out what these teams had planned, especially for Beast Coast on attack here. You're inside a master, but action is occurring on the other side of the map. 2 people die over by 90 trying to just dry push into trophy. And I'm going to say dry because they're not trying to flash anything out. There's no stuns coming out from Zofia. There's no harassment from below. There's no drones. It is literally just people trying to challenge angles without any utility at their disposal. And it makes me kind of scratch my head. And every single hard breacher is presently available. Yeah, Thatcher is banned. Yes, a lot of teams don't want to risk a Maverick on the wall of Master. It's not the meta anymore. But you've got a Thermite, you've got Hibana, you have Ace. You can run both of them. You can take care of the Mute Jammer. That's the only denial from the defenders. And yeah, it didn't seem like Beast Coast was interested in doing any of that, especially when 2 of their bodies are buried over by 90. It didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right that there are many options here for Beast Coast on attack. I just don't think that they're going to use all of them, to be frank. Strategically, I don't think that we've ever hailed either XSET or Beast Coast as being like, the foremost in the league. They have some good ideas and some nice setups. I really like what we're seeing from XSET right here. Take a look at this. This is a castle barricade mirror window setup for top floor on a kitchen defense with vertical play involved. I really like this setup. This works even on a trophy defense. You can do a lot of fun things with this kind of thing. So this is cool from XSET. On Beast Coast side, they're doing a lot of dry peaks without droning themselves in. They're going for a lot of really risky plays, and it's not working out for them. I don't really know how else to put it. They need to be a little bit more careful with their positioning and with their execution.
A bomb has been located.
So we'll see. I mean, obviously, there's going to be a lot on the shoulders here of the attackers and Beast Coast in particular to see what they can do with it. So far, pretty lackluster 2 rounds, only 4 kills. That's good for 2 apiece. Not anywhere near enough. Even if you're quite sound strategically, you got to be getting your frags on the board. I mean, it hasn't really been that high of a frag game yet, other than the fact that XSET has won those 2 rounds. Haven't seen anything really spectacular in regards to fighting. So far, it's been kind of an interesting attacking setup from Beast Coast through 2 rounds, and it honestly hasn't really seemed to make XSET sweat all that much. But Butters manages to get the leadoff kill for XSET. Yet another. The defense have been mighty fine at starting things off with these first bloods, and it's an unorthodox position from Butters that does not get exposed, does not get droned out from Beast Coast.
Finally doing some droning work here. Beast Coast trying to get a foothold over by China. Not an easy push, but it's doable. With Butters on Astro Stairs, it's made a lot more difficult, but he's been droned out. The call's there, and Fozo with the peek. Beautiful team play there for Beast Coast. Man count gets evened out, and with still a minute left on the clock, Beast Coast can make some work happen here on the actual site. The execution can come together as we near the end of this round.
There's Fozo with another. He's hitting his shots quite remarkably, and those are his first 2 kills. Rudy downed. He won't be able to break the 0 that he's got next to his name. So Filthy will now need to reposition himself from over towards Laundry. Fozo finished off by Drip, and it's Drip and Filthy with some marks to capitalize off of. His position was known, but Filthy can't hit those shots anyway. So Sippin and Ghost will now need to battle Drip, who's locked out of the bomb site and with a Vector, not ideal for long range. Again, another messy round, but Beast Coast is the one to capitalize off of it.
Are you as thrown off as the fact of the fact that Drip and Sippin exchanged their suffixes?
I mean, there's 4 players in this game who are not using their actual names. Technically, Thomas isn't because of Da Thomas, but I mean, obviously, I'll cut him some slack on that one.
Right.
The one thing that people at home aren't aware of is that, or might not be aware of, is that because this is a LAN build, they set their names every day that they log in, so their names can be entirely different. I think Yeti went with pre-workout Yeti, then he went with just Yeti, and then he went with Spaghetti Yeti. And it's cool every now and then, but I mean, Butters is Mantequilla, which is I think what people call him on his stream. Regardless, yeah, it's kind of confusing, and I'm trying not to be a wet blanket because I think it can be fun. But I understand for a lot of people who are watching this, they're going to be like, well, where's Butters?
Yeah.
Well, what's up with Drip? Who's Sip Boolin? Like, is that Drip? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I mean, when you're trying to quickly glance between them, it can get confusing. I get it.
A quick reminder, as you just saw, you can get the esports skins in the esports section of the Rainbow Six store, and it does support the league and the team, so it's a good way to pay into all of what you're watching here if you're so inclined. The skins are also really cool looking. They are collectible as well. I mean, I think there are only a couple people who have all the esports skins across all of Siege, and there's been a lot of them for a lot of years, and they're the older they are, the cooler they are. So when you're looking at your skins in 5 years, you might want to have the esports skins that are coming out right now.
Yeah, and you can base your worth on Twitter off of the skins you own, and then get into pointless flaming matches with other Twitter users about how cool your account is.
Yeah, that is
I hear that's in vogue right now.
Yeah, hey, my account, Parker, my account has pretty much every skin.
Wow, Kix, you might actually be the coolest person
Did
in
I
this
just
game.
win Rainbow Six?
I think you might have, you know, because
I will take my crown now.
see lots of people on Twitter talking about how, you know, they have Glacier, they have whatever, or yada, yada, yada. And I just think to myself, like, wow, I wish I was you.
Yeah.
I don't think you could get any cooler.
I now have a crown on my head and a badge that reads Parker wishes he was me.
Yes, for many reasons. Also because you're the Esports Awards winner, color commentator.
And a trophy.
The year. And also Siege GG caster of the year.
Wait, did I win that?
Yeah, you won.
I thought you won that.
Sorry, Siege GG. Apparently, it's not important enough.
No. I thought you won
remember.
that.
I won it the first year. You won it the second year. There's been no third year so far.
Oh.
Yes.
Right.
So you're technically you like SSG can cling to relevancy.
Woo!
Because anyway, here's the action. There really hasn't been all that much, but Discovery work. This is an angle you were showing off on stream yesterday, actually. So they've obviously been paying attention, watching the main stairs and. I know you remember that exact part. Drip is dead, Ghost is dead. Both teams are in a 4v4. Yeah, you showed that exact angle off on stream yesterday on your own personal stream.
Yeah, but I learned it from this, though. Not the other way around.
You are such an innovator.
Kickstar, the savant of R6 Pro League. I teach all these pro players every trick they've ever learned. Rudy, getting butters, that was me. You just didn't know it, and now you do. Congratulations. Walls getting opened up inside a study. That's the Selma's going off, and that's good hard breach. You were talking about how they didn't have a lot of that, Parker.
Yeah, not that they didn't have a lot of it, just that they weren't really using it all that effectively. And I mean, creators could have provoked a fight if he really wanted to, maybe picked off the Selma, but he decides to keep himself concealed very conveniently behind that Goyo shield by the door in study. And because of this, the rest of his team is going to have to do some more work. And with that wall being opened up, well, there's a lot more angles for the attackers to play off of. Beast Coast with an advantage. XSET tries to equalize, but it's still an advantage for Beast Coast, but it's a 2v3. With 20 seconds remaining, Thomas will play around the bomb chassis, watching that classical hallway. There's the opening that will have to be peeked by the sledge. Thomas is better. Shotgun up. He'll go for broke, and all three of them are his. Ring around the rosy. Thomas is the one who ends up completing that, and XSET is up 3-1.
Beast Coast all fall down. Beautiful stuff there. Thomas really letting him know as well. He got out of his seat to let Beast Coast know. So we are going to have a pause here. It's a technical pause. Don't know exactly what the issue is, but we're going to be reviewing something. Looks like it actually has to do with Thomas. Interesting. I guess he's getting all the attention right
Thomas,
now.
please.
Thomas. Excuse me.
Thomas.
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 And Thomas with beautiful plays, and yeah, I'm not sure what's going on, but we're fixing it up. XSET are up 3-1 right now. This is looking much like an XSET map, just straight up, because I mean, we're seeing some util play here from Beast Coast, but I'll be frank with you, Parker. I agree with your assessment earlier. It's lackluster, and it's almost too little, too late. Like, for example, the study wall getting opened up into the bar. That's great, but guess what? That didn't stop. It didn't stop Thomas from getting, Thomas from getting a three-piece from behind the bar. And if you're opening up that breach, you got to play it. You got to apply pressure. It's not just like, you can't just do it to be like, oh, hey, look, we opened the wall. You got to actually effect some change with that.
Nobody from Beast Coast played study. Yeah. So Thomas is at the bar with his back to the breach, and the three players from Beast Coast all push Classical Hall together.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody in study to watch. Nobody pushing the door. Obviously, they're wary of that Goyo shield that's positioned by the door in the study. I get that. But there's no crosses held. There's no pressure on the extremities. It's just all three members of Beast Coast decide to go through the single doorway. And I could put together hour-long montage of smoke and mute players behind that bar inside of games, watching that doorway, just crushing attackers as they try to go in with 5 seconds remaining on the clock.
Yeah.
And yet it continues to happen. I understand that the breach that was opened up by the Ace might not be in a position where you can vault through it. And if you're going to vault through it, it's going to be in a position where you're likely going to be vulnerable. People know that when you're vaulting in windows, when you're vaulting over breaches, etc., other than being on rappel, it's the most vulnerable you can be at a point on a map. Understandable. But I mean, the way Thomas is playing, the way he's swinging, the way that breach is established, you can play that angle.
Yep.
You can play that angle. Or you can try to pressure over towards Aviator at some point. But instead, Beast Coast abandoned the control that they had on those extremities, on the periphery, and decided to all just barrel through the same door together, once again with limited utility, because at that point they might not have had any. Fair enough. There's only 10 seconds left. But that's not a winning strategy.
Yeah.
Unless you have people double peeking, or unless there's some form of pressure below, or a pressure from the side, or from behind, there's not much you can do. And yeah, it's great that Thomas did that, by the way. But I don't want to take it away from Thomas, but I got to be the guy and say it's actually really not that impressive. That's pretty routine stuff at this level, because you get a major assist from your opponents playing it poorly like Beast Coast did.
Yeah, so the power of the SAS operator needs to be highlighted as well. You know, this is basic Siege, of course. You're going to have either your smoke or your mute playing behind that bar with the shotgun SMG-11, because SMG-11, for those of you who didn't know, has the highest DPS in the game behind the double barrel shotgun with the slugs, the Bozji. And that, of course, doesn't count when calculating DPS. So SMG-11, you're winning a gunfight with that, right? And then your shotgun, that SAS shotgun, that's your one shot at that range almost 100% of the time. So it's the perfect kit to hold that. That's why you set up the crossfire like Parker was discussing. Anyway, we've been on that one little bit for a long time. It's because it's, you know, it's a good highlight of how the strategy for Beast Coast is failing and how their awareness of the crossfire and the angles that they need to play is lackluster. In this round, looks like it's going to be a heavy roam, but Beast Coast want to deal with it directly. They're droning out below, and they've got 3 players on the entry downstairs trying to hunt those roamers. XSET does not seem to be leaving themselves exposed to that, though. They are playing much safer upstairs.
Actually, sounds like it might have opened something up with that first Selma tossed out by Rudy. I'm assuming that was the bathroom wall, or at least the closet wall leading into the bathroom, because, well, everything is totally solid. They've switched out the Hibana and are said going with the Ace. That's a Selma that's thrown low in hopes of evading an impact that gets tossed in its direction. And the Mute Jammer's picked off the wall, so there you go. Beast Coast are doing something that they weren't able to do when they attacked this bomb site back in round number 2. That's open it up. Beast Coast will now have some significant advantages that they didn't have before, which is pressure on the bomb site. The longer you allow the defenders to get entrenched on the bomb site, the harder it's going to be for you as an attacker, especially if your opponents have it designed so that you bleed through your utility and need to take gunfights with only a couple seconds remaining. That's a great shot from Fozo onto Drip, and a relatively common spot for Drip to sit on as well, back by Trophy. So immediately, Beast Coast finds themselves with an advantage, and Fozo almost takes out Thomas as well for good measure.
C4 goes out following the nade, and not enough damage done. In fact, no damage done. Rudy's going to take down Creators to finally XSET find the board, as Thomas will eliminate Sippin. He's been downed, though, making this a 2v4. Alda in hand. Butters is going to try and pick up Thomas, get him back into action, but as he does so, Filthy will die in Astro to Rudy, meaning that the last 2 defenders are trapped in Trophy. Make it just 1, though, as Butters is actually swiftly dispatched by Anthony. Beast Coast have their best round so far. That looked incredibly solid as soon as they got to the execution.
So a couple things happened there. Number 1, once that wall got opened up from Master into the bomb site, you saw 2 separate players from XSET have to scramble off of their positions and then sit somewhere else on the bomb site. Now, there wasn't a huge roam presence from XSET, and that was because BC's attack came exclusively from one direction. They knew they wanted to take the bathroom. They knew they wanted to take Master. They changed things up. Whereas before, Beast Coast had attacked over towards 90 and maybe thought about taking control of Astro. Beast Coast now went all in on a Master take, and it worked out quite well. They had presence downstairs. They took out the Mute Jammer. The wall gets opened up, and XSET needs to scramble to try to hang on to this bomb site. Now, it looked like there's only one player playing over by A. And they were playing over by the connector, playing on double doors, and I think it was Thomas, if I remember correctly, who was in that spot with Drip playing over by Trophy, and he tried to peek the opening once again. You don't necessarily need to take that engagement. There's a minute to go. You can try for a hero play and try with that. At that point, I'm assuming Drip had the MP5 in hand that he's been running with the ACOG on it, or at least the advanced optics, not just your one times. I assume that he was very confident in hitting that shot, and I will give him credit. Today, Drip has been hitting his shots. Probably the best on his team. But outside of that, it was once again, Thomas tries to peek it as well to go for a refrag. You don't need to do that. You can wait. So it was XSET getting a little bit too aggressive for my tastes on that defense, and Beast Coast was prepared for those angles to be held, prepared for those peaks, and they capitalized off of it.
I definitely agree, Parker. I wonder what the difference will be in this round as we go to the same site. XSET are roaming downstairs a lot harder than they did last round, so they've decided to commit to holding below. Now, there's a Vulcan using the clone there from Sippin. He detects that you've got a Malusi by Memo, by Tetris, or Dining. There's actually two down here for the defense, and it's Drip to get the lead-off kill onto Anthony trying to come up from the basement stairs. Ghost will get Thomas, though, as on a re. Ghost was coming up from the red stairs, and there's Sippin to contribute. It's constantly back and forth here, waiting for XSET to get their refrag. It's Drip to try it by Laundry Door. Very dangerous. C4 out, and it nets nothing. The roam is not looking so great here for Drip as he tries to fight his way out of a rock and a hard place, but he's finally felled by his friend Sippin on OJ. It's
and Filthy's downstairs now too. It's a 2v3. There's still half the round to go. What the hell is going on in this round so far? It's been absolute chaos. I wasn't aware that we were playing in a madhouse at this exact moment. This is a trophy statuary defense, and half of the server is dead playing down below. I am amazed at what we just witnessed, because it is exhilarating to watch, but goodness gracious, it doesn't need to happen. I get it. XSET wanted to go downstairs because when they lost control downstairs the previous time, it allowed Beast Coast to advance so aggressively upstairs. And now you've also taken out the hard breach for Beast Coast. So maybe for XSET, these gambles were worth it, but they still find themselves down in numbers, and the round is pretty much lost unless Man Tequila himself. Thank you to the Twitter user who told me that this is Butters in Spanish. He gets one, possibly two more. He's got the Alda in hand. This is a good gun to be able to take care of it, but Fozo's been having an absolute barn burner, or been putting on an absolute barn burner here, as through these past 3 rounds, he has been exceptional for his team. That concludes the first half. Beast Coast, after a rough start, managed to fix some things, and it's 3-3 going into the second half. It's still very much anybody's game.
So this is in line with what we expect out of Villa lately. Neither team taking the advantage in the first half. Strategically, XSET have been doing better when they were on defense, at least, although defensive strategy is by default generally easier in Siege. The attacking strategy for Beast Coast was a little bit confused in the first 3 rounds, but they managed to pick it up towards the end, and that's what's most important. The round count looks all right for them. Now we'll see what Beast Coast can do as they switch on to defense. So it'll be a kitchen defense first, Pulse being 6 picked into. They don't want to give away the fact that they are going to kitchen, and the Pulse certainly would do that. Plenty of C4. We've got 3 of them here for Beast Coast. And we're also seeing the Aruni. I like Aruni a lot for her consistency and utility burn potential. Especially with the Wamai ban, it makes a lot of sense to be bringing her. And we've seen Aruni be a very powerful force for the defense many rounds.
I've been impressed with the Aruni plays so far, to see her just slot so effortlessly into the meta. But I mean, I find that the most recent defenders have all had a really good spot and have all been very high impact. I mean, think back to Wamai, think back to Malusi, now think to Aruni. I mean, other than Warden, when was the last time that a defending operator really didn't show themselves off for a season or 2 before some changes were made? Maybe the reworked Tachanka is the only thing I can think of, but other than that, all of the new defenders have had an immediate impact. The attackers in this case, not quite the same. I mean, you can go back and Ace obviously had a huge impact, but then you go back and you see certain operators like Nook not really having a huge impact. You know, Amaru not really having a huge impact. Zero having some impact, but not that much. It's been interesting to see how they slot in.
Oryx, probably.
Yeah, I guess Oryx.
Clash,
yeah, good point.
Clash doesn't have an impact at this level, not really.
Oryx and Warden would be the 2. And even then, I mean, Warden came out quite a while ago at this point.
Yeah. Man, it was years ago for many of these operators, but it still feels like it was just yesterday sometimes.
I mean, think about how long Goyo's been involved for.
Yeah, he's been out for...
It doesn't feel like it, but he's a pretty old operator at this point.
He's getting changed too. Like he's getting a rework and a pretty extensive one. He's losing his shields. Nice C4 there that misses for Beast Coast. Bozo trying to, I think, get outside of the bathroom window, but it looks like he hit the lip of the window. So if it had gone out, he probably would have gotten a kill. Unfortunately, he did not.
So are you saying it was not a nice C4 then,
Well,
even though you said nice C4, you lied?
So I said nice C4 mid trajectory because I thought it would go through the window, but he missed. So
I don't believe you.
all right. Well, you know, I know what I said and why I said it. This is nice clear, that's for sure. And Rudy's shield will be destroyed by the lifeline from Filthy. Good teamwork, but it cost a man. And yeah, Anthony is down, but he might be saved by Beast Coast. So slight advantage for the defense so far.
Yeah, I'd be very happy here if I was Beast Coast with the way that you played that one out, because even if you didn't get a kill onto Butters, you still killed almost 2 minutes of time. And you've been able to get back to the bomb site now as Ghost will try to do some recon work as the final minute of this first defense from Beast Coast. And XSET finds themselves trailing. Not only that, but Filthy and Thomas have taken some substantial damage at this point. And yeah, there might not be some high DPS or high damage guns in the hands of the defenders, but the fire rates on most of them are good enough, and with how much has already been done to XSET, it might be enough to pick them off when these engagements come. XSET is still focused on that upstairs take, though, as they alleviate all the utility and gadgets that will make that advance harder on the bomb site. All the while, Anthony's been picked back up, so Beast Coast will be fighting at full strength. Sippin is going to retake the top and try to do some significant damage if he can. First kill from XSET will come out with 20 seconds remaining, and now Sippin engaged, but he loses it to Thomas. Now the advantage is XSET's as they have to push towards the bomb site with only a tiny bit of time left. This is going to be tough for them to do. Attempted to defuse, but then they're falling off, and now it's Beast Coast to clean up the bomb site, waiting very patiently for the last two members of XSET to charge in. They'll need to grab that diffuser and attempt the plant. Creators does it right at the nick of time, but it's the sidearms from Beast Coast making the statement. And with it, they managed to shoo away the last members of XSET on the bomb site. Beast Coast takes their very first defense.
I'll be frank with you, Parker. I thought Beast Coast were starting to throw that straight up. The forced retake up red, as well as Astro Stairs, was going to cost them a lot in the long run if it didn't work out on the vertical play. Luckily for Beast Coast, XSET had done a significant amount of work on the floor, or the site ceiling, whichever you want to call it. And those holes made it so Beast Coast, when they eventually did get control above, were able to put in work in denying that plant. As well, the anchors on the site, great job at just being a thorn in the side of XSET's execution. Well done indeed. Beast Coast narrowly bringing that one out. But I do say narrowly, and I really mean it. That push, especially by the Jaeger at top red, I mean, just go into bore. Like, you don't have to open up the statuary door. If it's barricaded, go into bore. You're going to give away your play. There's no way you're going to win that fight against the LED 5 at a long range with an ACOG. So, I mean, yeah, scary around there for Beast Coast. They still won it, though. That's the most important takeaway. We're going to go to Aviator now. A site that has proven to be, honestly, like, I don't think Aviator's as good as it used to be. It's so played out now that it feels like half the time people execute on it, they can't make any mistakes. The attack just knows this site so routinely.
I like that they went to kitchen first, though, and I mean, it was the only the second time we've seen this bomb site emerge. Most of the action is going to take place upstairs, almost as if it were a trophy statuary take for most teams on attack.
Yeah.
Kitchen has risen in recent times and has actually supplanted trophy statuary as the second most preferred bomb site for an awful lot of teams, and the reason for that is what we refer to as that floor buffer. It's the same reason why a lot of teams are no longer holding the top floor on Cafe, but are instead opting for reading or mining down below, because they're still going to play that top floor. The difference is the objective is not there, so you've got that extra time and space to be able to fall away. Just as I say fall away, Rudy's in a position where he might need to as well. Yanaclone spots him right now playing on main stairs, and well, he's just going to continue to fire as much as he can from very long range. And keep in mind, the abundance of ammo that these defenders have allows him to do that. Rudy can continue to take pot shots for the remainder of this round and still finish with a full magazine in his gun. He's not going to be able to do it now because as Fozo got downed, Rudy gets finished off on the stairs, and like that, XSET finds themselves in good position. But once again, look at these HPs. Thomas and Creators are both lit up significantly. Filthy is dead. Butters is dead. There is still half of the round to go. This is some really interesting stuff that we're seeing occur here.
Anyone remember what Parker means when he says interesting? He explained it last time. I think it
I
was.
have no idea what you're talking about.
I'll leave it to the mystery then. Nice nade from below from the Thomas. Doesn't matter if he has low HP, if he can land nades like that. Now, even man count, but still an advantage for Beast Coast, not only in terms of HP, but also in terms of control. Beast Coast are well poised to simply wait out this round. XSET have to present some kind of execution strategy, or they're not going to have any hope at winning. They do still have hard destruction, so that's a major factor, and 2 nades on creators. So lots of potential for a play here. Here comes the Yana clone coming up red stairs. Sippin does not want to give away his roam. That's the main thing. If he could just persist here without giving himself... Oh, there it is. And he has done it. He's given himself away. C4 goes out on top red. And it gets shot, I would assume, by the Thomas. Well played there for Thomas. Nice reactions. Speaking of nice reactions, down goes Sippin as he tries to flank creators. And now this is a 2 versus 3. Favor the attack. Scratch that as Thomas peeks and is peeked by Anthony. 23 seconds left here. Beast Coast just need to wait out and deny the plant with their 3 gas canisters. That's going to be easy for Ghost to just huck them into Aviator and wait for the round to be a dub. Here comes the clone, but down goes the last teammate of creators, so he's got to clutch past smokes and get 2 kills. It's just not going to happen. Time will be the real nemesis here for XSET, and they will win a round. Well played to Beast Coast for taking it.
And if you looked at the last 3 players that were available for XSET, you had the Hibana at half HP, and then the last 2 were both on just a shred of HP in both Thomas and Creators. It looked like it was about 10 to 15 HP, give or take. How much damage does a smoke do per tick? And you're going to have to cut through a doorway and try to pressure the defense, and there's still 3 toxic canisters remaining from smoke. You're not going anywhere. The only place that you're going is in the ground, and that's exactly what happened. Beast Coast can just simply blanket off the only entry point that XSET has to the bomb site. And, you know, once again, just like we saw in round number 7, round number 8 repeats very similarly. Most of this action occurs on the first floor, very far removed from the bomb site. Round number 7, Beast Coast, their defense, half of it is upstairs, and it is a very aggressive defense upstairs that XSET needs to cut through. In this particular round that we just saw, it's an Aviator Games defense, so it's the top floor, but most of their defense is down below. Similar to round number 6, these teams are playing a very unorthodox and unconventional style here on Villa, and it's been exceedingly messy. It is almost impossible for even the most talented spectator in the world to catch what goes on in the first 90 seconds of this match, or in each round during this match, because they're just constantly engaging in a war of words all over the map. So far, Beast Coast has been doing a magnificent job of harnessing that chaos and channeling it into big picks, good map control, and wasting tons of time. So for them so far, it's been working out really well for them, and they've been coming out swinging on every single round. XSET had a strong start to this map, but they have just absolutely lost the plot, and this is something very similar to what we saw with them when they lost 0-7 to TSM. They had a couple good-spirited rounds, and then they were just in absolute free fall. I don't want to say that XSET is in free fall yet, but it certainly looks like it's the start of a plummet. If they can't make a course correction here, they're going to hit the ground pretty fast.
I don't know if this is up to date because they might have changed it since the last time I checked. But last time I checked, it was 15 damage every half second or 30 damage every second. And the gas canister lasts, I think, 10 seconds. But I don't know.
By the way, I wasn't asking for a scientific breakdown of how much damage it does. I was more so making a point that it does enough damage to kill.
I know.
Oh, okay.
But I felt like it needed an answer anyway, because not everyone knows.
You crunch the numbers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, I don't know if that's actually up to date because they do change, they tweak these stats. And the last time I checked that was, I want to say like a year ago or something. So it's, yeah, I mean, it's probably up to date. I don't think they've changed smoke that much recently. Anyway, what I do know is that this round is halfway done. XSET has control below the site, and they have also opened up the wall. So this might be a better round for XSET than what we've seen in the past, because they put in some work. They haven't lost any manpower yet. They've got some good control. Things are looking up.
It also sounded like Drip used more than one set of the X-Kairos upstairs. Usually you have 18. They can fire in those 6, 4, and 2-round bursts. And you could hear some go off earlier on, and now there's some that also went onto that master wall. First kill is going to come out for XSET. Down goes Fozo, who has been stellar so far for Beast Coast and has been the standout in my mind on this team in the ways that he's able to get pretty high impact frags. Sippin is ready and willing to engage on a fight into trophies. We've seen the slowest round over the last 4 rounds here between these two teams. Beast Coast finds themselves down by 1, but it's still very much salvageable. The problem they will run into is, once again, they're going to need an abundance of dry peaks because they don't have a ton of map control. Beast Coast is largely just huddled inside of this bomb site. And if there's no real utility, all these gunfights are going to break in favor of the defense. But just like that, Sippin just pushes himself into the waiting arms of Butters, who picks up a second kill. Anthony takes out Drip, so the advantage is still XSET's. In fact, quite a ways. Ghost on a flank here. Well, he's got tons of red pings. He'll capitalize. 2 big kills, but doesn't matter. It's a 1v1. He's down below. He'll need to get back to the bomb site. Filthy will go for the plant. Where is Ghost? That's the real question. He's got 4 seconds to hightail it up. He's got pings, he's got marks. Filthy falls off and Ghost gets it anyway. It's a gamble by XSET, but Beast Coast on match point. That free fall from XSET, it certainly seems like there's no parachute to slow them down.
Beast Coast getting hyped up now. Beautiful play from Butters. I honestly thought that was going to take the round, but Ghost on the flank, he really put it together. Well played, controlling his engagement masterfully. So with Beast Coast now on match point, XSET are going to call a tactical timeout. And this is, I mean, you know, we always bring it up when you're calling a tactical timeout on match point. That's not exactly ideal. It's a pause. It's a calm before the storm. You get to discuss what you want to do to dig yourself out of the hole you're in. But there are so many other situations you could have called a tactical timeout on earlier and actually potentially gain some momentum earlier in the map to then later, carry it forward to your own match point or something similar. Right now, XSET are up against the wall and they're just trying to get their breath so that they can maybe take a round or 2. That's not going to be good enough. They need 3 in a row right now.
Before I say anything, by the way, I just want to say that it's very easy for us to have the benefit of hindsight on this and be critical depending on when these timeouts are taken, right? It was just yesterday that we criticized teams taking tactical timeouts on match point. But at the same time, I can understand why there's been 5 rounds won in a row. Oh man, I almost said run in a woe.
Run in a woe? Days.
Run in a woe.
5 rounds run in a woe.
Almost said it in order, out of order there. Beast Coast has won 6 of the last 7 rounds. 5 in a row, which stretch back to them being on attack, and they are perfect so far on defense. The stats also working out really well in their favor. They've gotten an overwhelming majority of first bloods. They've had a much higher kill percentage, and they've been able to play off the objective well, too. So there's very little that when you look at XSET, you can be happy with over those last 5 rounds. Now, you can call a tactical timeout after the 7th or 8th round. That's fine. But if you're a coach and you think, okay, we're starting on attack. This is very much a defender-sided Villa at the moment, largely because of what we've seen out of Beast Coast. The first half was very even. I can completely understand why XSET would wait to call a timeout because they don't necessarily know if they're just being outplayed or if they're uncomfortable on attack or whatnot. You don't want to take your timeout too early because if things go awry, there's nothing else you can do. But now it's do or die for XSET. They take a timeout. Even if they start to make slight improvements, if they lose this round, that's it. It's the ball game.
Yeah.
So it's like I said, it's very easy for us to be critical, but I can understand the thinking behind it.
Either way, it's, as mentioned, do or die, and that's the main takeaway here for me. Everything's going to come down to these early picks here. And as you mentioned, Beast Coast have been the ones in the favor of that for a lot of the rounds. We'll see if Sippin's able to get this flank off. Not great droning, but he might be spotted. Finally is spotted, but oh, creators, you need to have a little bit more patience, my man. I know it's weird that Sippin's at books, but wait for the drone to call it clear before you push in. Another kill there for Sippin as he repositions to vault. He's got the rotation already set up, and as Butters loses half of his HP. Yeah, Sippin's low, but he's going to get a third as Thomas vaults in through Boar window, and it looks like Sippin has just secured the round We'll see if Drip and Butters can clutch it up.
This has been a very, very hard map to understand between these two teams. Beast Coast has shown some sharpness here and there, but ultimately this has been, oh boy, it's been messy back and forth. Both teams just, in many cases, foregoing utility, foregoing intel, and just playing off of themselves. I don't think I've actually seen a pro-level matchup involve these many gunfights. This many gunfights. That just, there's no intel. Here again.
Easiest 4K.
Sippin is one away from claiming every single player in this server, and you can take a timeout, but you can't take Sippin out of the server. He's got the case down in front of him. All he needs to do is peek 90, and he sees it. It's an ace. It's a flawless round, and it's the matchup for Beast Coast. They take it over XSET 7-3.
Yeah, you guys didn't see it, but Sippin, as it ended there, he said LOL in all caps, and then he said, I guess I'm not supposed to say that on broadcast, but I mean, LOL is right. That's got to be the easiest ace of Sippin's career. Well played. He earned it for sure, but still, like, comically easy the way that came together. Every fight was a 1v1. XSET just gave Sippin a series of 1v1s. I mean,